What is up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Parenting. My name is Joe Sib.
And Anea Bogue.
And we are hanging out back in the studio again, and we didn't have to wait that long to get her back. You guys asked for it. I sound like I'm introducing a band right now.
I love it.
Are you ready to rock?
Well, I just told you that I need a theme song.
There you go. I know. I should give you one. All right, I can give you one right now.
Welcome. I'm not coming back.
Welcome. I wish I could do a drum beat. Welcome, Dr. Suzanne, to Rad Parenting.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me back.
You know, I think last time you were here, a couple weeks ago, I was talking about coming back from vacation. And, and after the show, you and I were outside and you were getting ready to split and we were in the parking lot. And then you mentioned, and I was like, I got to remind myself to ask you, your son getting ready to go away to college.
Yes,
Has he already bailed?
No, I am taking him in like 4 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. How's that feel?
Oh my gosh, we totally have to do a show, and we could have you back for this as a parent instead of as a doctor like, you know, our kids going off to college, not even the college decision making, but the like, this is your firstborn.
Oh my God, it's
leaving
huge.
the nest.
It's everything. It's
okay.
all of the
Can
above.
I ask the question? I think about it all the time with my own son and daughter. They're getting, my daughter, she's a sophomore in high school. She's already talking about colleges. My son, obviously a little bit younger, but we're in the house together with just all of us are just grooving. We're on such a great vibe, and I spend time in all their rooms, and we're all hanging out together. And then I think about them going off to college, and obviously, Anea and I talk about how that's your gig. You want them to have that. I'm going away,
but it's
Mom.
bittersweet. It's bittersweet because I do feel proud of him, and I feel like.
Is he going out of state?
He's going up to Portland, Oregon. He's going to be at Lewis and Clark College, which is a really wonderful place for him and a great city and a beautiful forest, and it's liberal arts and blah, blah, blah.
I could totally see
And I
him
feel
there.
like they get him. So I don't want to say too much.
Which is a thing. And it's great.
No, and I love Portland.
So I'm really excited. So I feel like, okay, you know what? I did my job so far, but it's, really weird and sad. I mean... Oh my God, he's my little munchkin, and he's leaving my house.
And
so weird.
I know when my daughter went off, and let's not get because this truly should be another show. But when my daughter went off to college, it was this whole like, but she's not going to be part of my day-to-day reality anymore.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of the fear
but then
factor.
they do all those things that make you want them to leave.
Can we talk about that?
Exactly.
Like, what are some things you're not going to miss? Let's throw it out there.
The smell,
Okay.
the stuff all over the floor.
The what all over the floor?
Just stuff. Like, I just don't even. Like, so this morning I came out and there's a little, his sister and him share like a little area of the house, and they have their own bathroom. Not that she uses it because it's so gross. She uses my bathroom. So that's my partner. Anyways, there was like a pile of Kleenex, and I was like, I really kind of don't want to know what that is, but I was like, Jaron, what is, he's like, there was a spider. So he required, like a half a box of Kleenex. He has a big spider phobia. Yeah, so it required a lot of Kleenex to kill that spider. And then it just left there,
Because that's what you do. You
Kill the
just leave it
spider,
there.
bail. I love it. Whoever's moving in with him up there in Portland is going to be like, what's with the Kleenex, dude? He's going to be like, spiders.
Because there are going to be a lot of spiders, and I'm thinking in the forest.
Well, one of the things that the best part about having you on the show, besides we always learn something, we had you on to talk about Zika a few weeks ago, got a lot of emails about that. And we always come in here and we always start the show with one idea, and then in the beginning we start talking about another. But I had to ask you. I had to ask you about what that must feel like, because I know a lot of our listeners, some of them do have kids that are getting ready to move out, and then some of them are just beginning the journey with like, I could never imagine them not being here.
Yeah.
So I had to ask you about
Thanks
that.
for asking.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah,
exciting.
It is.
It's exciting. All right, we're going to dive into today's show. This is a topic that Anea brought up to me, and as our tagline is for Rad Parenting, she's the expert and I'm not. It fits because she told me about a term. I love how you're just laughing at me.
With you.
Laughing with you.
Yes.
You know what the best thing, just sidebar really quick, I was reading some of the, and I got to thank everyone right now, and I mean this, and I know I speak for Anea, the reviews that we get on iTunes. Keep them coming because it gets more people into the show. But I was reading some of the reviews, and my wife and I were going over them. She's like, Joe, these reviews are so great. And I'm like, really? And she's reading one. And one of them on there was like, seriously, like, I love Anea and all of her expert information. And she does this and she does that. And I love how Joe is just trying to figure it out. And a couple of them are like, I feel sorry for the little Italian man who, but it's true though.
Oh my
it's
God.
true. But I wanted to thank everyone for those reviews. They've been amazing. Okay, so
And it's like we get a double blessing, if you will, that when we have Dr. Suzanne, because Suzanne's expertise is in a whole other area than mine, and it's just such a beautiful thing to have.
Well, I'm in the room with two experts. That's what I'm going to say.
And we love being in the room with you, Joe.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
come
you.
on.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, with that said, this term Anea told me about, and you actually quoted, it saved my life.
It did save my life.
Fourth trimester. Let me say it one more time.
Fourth trimester.
And this goes out right now, this show, giving a shout out to all my parents that are about to have their first child, thinking about having a baby. And also, because after you told me about what fourth trimester theory was, for the parents right now, your child crying, you're like, what did I get myself into? The nursing, the craziness. I didn't know what. Are you ever going to sleep, little person? You're here for the whole ride. You're not leaving. That was something I said about my daughter. Wow. After like 6 weeks, I was like, when does she move out? Like you're not visiting. Like that was something I go, wow. And I remember it changed my whole theory on parenting. I'm like, I got to slow down. Like I was running it like a race, like those guys in the Olympics. Like, I'm going to finish. So when you said fourth trimester, this really is to all the people having children, about to. This is all the children that are already there, and you're starting your journey, because you said this term saved your life.
It did.
Go.
It did. So, and it was interesting because I was almost like a first-time parent, because it had been 12 years, right, since I'd had my previous baby. And let me tell you, on a daily basis, I was like, what was I thinking doing this again? And then this fourth trimester term, which probably came from you, Dr. Suzanne, and you probably introduced it, because it would not have even been on my radar. And then I got somebody gave me the Happiest Baby on the Block DVD, which I highly recommend. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, because you're feeling, when you're a new parent, between the lack of sleep, your hormones going crazy, this new little person that you're like, oh wow, I didn't have control during my pregnancy. Now I really don't have control.
Right.
It just was, I was so frantic and so overwhelmed. And when I had a name for it and an understanding of what was very likely going on with her in those first 3 months of her life, it just gave me a sense of like, okay, so this is going to have it's going to have an expiration. Like it's not going to go on forever. Right. And maybe do you want to talk about let's just identify what fourth trimester is first of all?
Right now I know someone's like, 4 trimesters.
Well, so this is referring to the fact that the pregnancy itself is considered to have 3 trimesters. And that is, it's a fiction in a lot of ways, but we're just dividing the pregnancy up into thirds. And there are sort of things that happen developmentally in those thirds of the pregnancy. The fourth trimester is the idea that in the first, 3 months after birth, it's really as if you're still pregnant. It's just that the baby's outside of you now. So the deal is that, and you really were giving quite the good summary. The science
I'm happy to help.
Yeah, thank you for helping. Because I'm not a pediatrician, but I've been a parent, and I am a parent, and I've been involved in, I've lost count, more than 1,000 births at this point. That's insane. And, what I see is people coming back to me postpartum and just a wreck, a total wreck, exhausted, and I think just sort of demoralized. They're just like, what am I doing wrong? Why is this baby just a mess? And why am I a mess? And how am I supposed to take care of this baby when this baby is a mess and I'm a mess?
What made me think I could be a parent? Clearly, I can't be a parent. I'm
really messes with you. But the truth is that the baby is still in this, post-development phase where it really needs to be almost as if it were still inside. And so the idea with the fourth trimester, and we have to shout out to Dr. Harvey Karp, who wrote this great book, and I don't know that he coined the term, but he definitely popularized it. The idea is that it gives you permission, because the baby needs to come out because basically it has to fit. That's essentially physiologically, it has to fit through your body.
Right.
So in order to fit through your body, it's coming out maybe a little earlier than it would have wanted to come out in terms of development. And it's still maturing quite a bit, and that's where you get the crying. That's why is it crying, and the feeding constantly, and the not sleeping, and all that stuff. Some babies are like such easy, great babies. They're definitely in the minority, but the baby still kind of wants to be inside. And so, if you can recreate some of the features of being inside the womb, you're going to do a lot better. I think the truth is this: I want to be very careful. It's not a magic bullet. And so if you're doing that and it's still not, quote, working, you got to give yourself a break about that too. The reality more in my mind is just understand this baby is trying to figure it out, trying to develop. You are too, and it's okay. It's not, these things aren't happening that feel negative and difficult because you did something wrong. it's kind of a life lesson, like shit happens, things are difficult, and you didn't do anything wrong sometimes, and you just have to figure out how to cope with it. So the fourth trimester tends to deal more with like the pediatric aspects,
right?
But I wanted us to talk a little bit about the parenting aspect.
Yes.
So how do you cope with that?
Right.
Before you go into that, like everything you just said made so much sense. What you're basically saying, just so I can understand this in my brain.
Yeah.
Basically, the baby has been developed in this amazing atmosphere.
Yummy, watery, floaty, warm.
I love it. I want to go there right now.
No, exactly.
I want to
Who
go.
doesn't? That's why we have hot tubs.
Exactly. Right. So what you're saying, so the analogy so you're in there, the baby's chilling, everything's awesome. It has to come out and enter the world,
right?
Because of a size. And
that's right. So its head. Stop me if I'm incorrect. The max size ish of a baby's head is 11 centimeters. That's when it's like fully developed in the womb. It could develop more, but the max size for a cervix is 10 centimeters. That's fully dilated. So that has to be relatively close. If the baby continued to develop, its head would be too big to fit out the birth canal. We're not going to always just
right,
do
and the pelvis. I mean, the pelvic bones do open up a little bit during a pregnancy, but they're only going to open up so far.
So does this make sense that when because I just right when you guys were saying that,
I mean, this is insane. By the way. I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. I always say that the fact that we make people is just that.
No, dude, I do this all day, every day, and I'm still like,
in
what
awe.
The hell?
I can't even believe
it's amazing.
it. And then when you said that you've delivered 1,000 babies,
I don't count.
But I've seen cities when I'm driving, like the
town is less than that.
Yeah, like there's a city named Smelts out there that I drove through, and it says like population 5. Like you've all the people said, let's get
part
together.
Of the problem, not the solution.
Let's go say hi to Dr. Suzanne. 1,000 people would
That'd be
roll
awesome.
in. Yeah,
it'd probably overwhelm me.
I got.
Maybe don't do that.
So the thing I was gonna say is, does it make sense that when my daughter was born, she came out, and I always joke around that she was pissed. She had this little look on her face. Yeah, and I always say to my wife, I go, you got to remember, man, she was angry when she came out. And, was she? And I remember holding her, and she just looked up at me just gave me that look.
Dude,
what
did you
is up? Pull me out of this wonderful.
It's bright. It's freaking cold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what you're saying.
It's weird.
Okay, that makes so much sense. Okay, continue with what you're...
And just the other thing, and I noticed this about myself the other day, which is really strange, is my little one was playing the Sims game, and there's this thing where you can, like, make more babies. Like, you can just be like, two people show that they like each other, and you can be like, more babies, or, whatever. And so I could hear this baby crying in the living room. It's been almost 8 years since I had a baby.
Oh, God, really?
And I could feel I felt like, I've got to make that baby stop crying. Not like in an annoying, like, oh my God, make that kid stop, but in this, like, and so that is a powerful, for new moms out there, or women about to be moms, that feeling of like, this baby is crying and I need to do something to get him or her to stop, not as an annoyance, but as a...
Well, you feel helpless.
Yes, and so that's why I think this is so powerful, because that's one of the things that happens is when babies are like, what am I doing out here? It was so nice in there. There's lots of crying. There's lots of showing of I'm not super happy or comfortable right now.
Well, and I think that's also kind of interesting too. I mean, I don't know that we know how they feel. In fact, I know that we don't know how they feel because they can't tell us how they feel. And once you get to a certain age where you have learned to express emotions non-verbally by watching other people do so and having those feelings assigned, that's different. So when a newborn cries, it's really, really hard for us to not respond with our own identification of what that means, which may not have any feeling behind it whatsoever. It may be neurologic discharge. I mean, I don't know. It's easier.
Neurological discharge. Great band name.
Wow.
Great band name.
We have another.
They're writing my theme song.
I love
it.
My theme song. I love it.
Neurological discharge.
Just,
okay.
So
which
and I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a pediatrician, but that's just my that's what I think.
Right.
Because I was influenced heavily when my daughter was born, which is sadly my second child. I mean, it's not that sad that she's my second child, but the point is I didn't get any of this information with my first. So that was hard.
Got it.
But this great book called Happy Child, Healthy Sleep Habits by Mark Weisbluth, and he talks a lot about the neurology of the early newborn period and how a baby is not able to learn or be trained for like the first, 13 to 16 weeks, which is where, and this is controversial and I don't want to necessarily get into all this, but this idea about sleep training, which is super controversial. But the idea is that if you were inclined to want to sleep train, you can't until they're more than 3 months.
Yeah, exactly.
They can't. They are not.
I think
their
4
brains
months
aren't
is
organized.
the earliest time.
Their brains are not organized to do it. So again, you have to learn how to tolerate your own feelings, because really what you're tolerating is your own feelings. That's pretty hard to do when you're in good shape and you've been sleeping and you've been meditating and doing self-care.
Right.
This is a lifelong journey for myself. Okay, I'm going to speak for myself. So when you just had a baby, and that might have been like physically, and psychologically exhausting, if not traumatizing, because some people do have traumatic births. And you haven't slept, and your boobs hurt, and your nipples hurt, and your partner's doing whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
And now you're supposed to deal with the feelings. Oh my, that's a lot to ask of a person. So I do think having a name for it and having a structure to it does take some pressure off, hopefully. The other thing that I think I really would like to see more of, and I have training in Ayurveda, which is Indian medicine. And it's a holistic traditional medical system that developed 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. And really all traditional cultures have a period of confinement after birth, which is usually about 6 weeks, where the mom and the baby are really just concentrated on and cared for by the community. And traditionally, it would be women coming into the house, preparing special foods. In Ayurveda and in the Indian world, there's belly binding and special massages with oils and body treatments.
Beautiful.
I mean, you're really, really cared for and nourished at a very deep and also very concrete level. And the idea is that in order for you to heal and take care of this human, you must be cared for yourself. And that actually you shouldn't even be expected to be doing it all by yourself. That we are communal beings and we need to take care of each other, because there are times when we cannot take care of ourselves, and we need to know that. We don't really do that here.
Oh man, can I say something right now?
Yeah.
Right now when you're describing that the look you guys saw on my face?
Yeah.
I want to call Karen right now and apologize.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that didn't take place at our house at all.
But you were doing the best you can.
No,
and
but it
she
was
was
like
probably running around trying to be super mom.
No, it was just a million relatives in her face.
Yeah.
And everyone touched her. And then I went out drinking with my mom one night to celebrate. We had our first kid, and I came back.
Joe
with,
sick.
Yeah. My mom and I went out. I remember, I'll never forget, I left, my wife still brings up, left. My mom came to visit, and this is how it worked. My mom and I, we all hung out with the baby, and then she said, let's go get a drink to celebrate. Left Karen to take care of the baby. Because that's what you're going to do.
Joseph,
and we went down, drinking, came back, 3 sheets to the wind, and then what's up? Woke her up. Let's see the baby again. Oh my gosh.
I'm checking in with Karen later to make
there
sure that
was
you
no
actually
massages.
do go home.
I'm going to go home with oils
okay,
tonight.
So and just on that note, because this is going to bring it back, Suzanne, to like your approach with this in terms of focusing on taking care of the parent and the mother. It goes a step further. It's not just about like in our day to day and relatives coming over and wanting to see and all of that. How about just we live in a society that pressures women from like almost the moment the baby's out to how are you going to get your pre-baby body back?
Right.
And look how so-and-so did it. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Like any woman. How about I just grew a whole other human being and gave birth, which what you're describing sounds much more in line with a culture that really has a respect and a reverence and an appreciation for this the amazing female body and the fact that we do bring new life into the world, and that needs to be cared for, both the baby and the woman as the vessel for this new human being.
Right.
So, okay.
Do you ever feel that you do not have enough time in the day to do what you're supposed to get done? You're going to work, you're maybe trying to hit the gym, but you forgot that, I got to pick so-and-so up from daycare. I got to get my dad over to his doctor's appointment. I wanted to pick up the house before I left. Wow, check it out. How am I going to get everything done? Well, I'm going to tell you right now. Go to care.com. Care.com. Care.com is the world's largest digital marketplace for finding and managing family care. That is right. Family care needs can be unpredictable. You got sick kids. You need someone to stay home. Man, both parents are out there trying to make a living. Your kids get sick. Who's going to stay home? Who's going to miss out on that cash? Now you go to care.com and they'll have someone for you that can look after your kids. Don't stress your life away. Seriously, most working parents worry about their kids every minute of the day. You're more at ease and more focused when you know your kids or your parents or even your pets are well cared for. Best part is this, care.com provides access to a variety of background check options you can purchase to help make sure that you're making the best hiring decision. That's my favorite part right there. They're letting you know there's a million different things for you to check out on the background check options so you know who's going to be there with your kids or with your parents or with your pet taking care of the situation. Care.com. Check it out now. If you go to care.com right now, you ready for this? To save 30% off care.com premium membership, visit care.com/rad parenting when you subscribe, and you're going to get 30% off. Like I said, the world's moving a million miles an hour. You just want to take care of your kids and all the responsibilities. Let care.com help.
So carry on. So this is in cultures where...
Yeah, well, I remember, I trained at County USC Hospital, so my primary patient base there were Latinos, Latinas, and, from all over Mexico and Central America. And so I was first exposed to this idea of the 40 días, 40 days. And I don't know that much about the specifics, but it's a similar thing. You go home, the women in your community, your family take care of you, they cook for you, they do stuff for you, they help you care for the baby, they help you care for you. I mean, this is not, I think probably any culture has something. I think I talked about it in here because one of the first times I was here, I had just come from visiting a patient of mine.
Oh, yes.
Who's Armenian.
Yes.
And she really wanted to leave the hospital and go home because in the hospital, everybody had access to her. But at home, nobody was allowed to come see her except like her mom and her sister were going to take care of her.
That's exactly what it was.
So, I mean, you could go on and on and on. And I'm sure many of your listeners may know about this from family lore or whatever. This is just a thing that we used to do that we just don't do anymore. And I would love to see that come back more. It's really, really hard because if you're a working woman, and, most of us are, and you have the pressure of having to, get yourself together, get this baby on board and get some kind of schedule going and get back to work.
Right.
It's just like, that's your reality. I mean, I had to go back to work with I was a resident, I was doing my training. I had to go back at 6 weeks. That was brutal.
Yeah.
I just brutal.
Yeah, and I just have to say that, like, as a Canadian, where we get like 9 to 12 months of mat leave, in the spirit of like family values and making sure that a new mother and child are supported, in this country it is for many women 6 weeks max, and you have to go back.
Right.
So,
and then we wonder why we have a lot of postpartum mood disorders, anxiety and depression. I mean, I remember going to, like, I found some working moms group that, like, on a Saturday morning at the the Chapman Family Center in Santa Monica. It doesn't exist anymore. Judy Chapman was like one of the founders of kind of the doula and all this kind of awesome stuff here in Los Angeles. And I remember going to this group, and my son was 3 weeks old, and it was like a mommy baby group, and I just cried. I was so stressed. I was 3 weeks into my 6-week maternity leave. I was going back to residency, which is like 80 to 100 hours a week, and I couldn't even I was so depressed. So at least I went and got some support. But it was so hard. It was so hard. And I had a lot of support. My ex-husband, the father of my children, was an awesome dad and like super available, really, really there. It wasn't about that. It was about I felt cheated before I was even being cheated. So, I think that's our culture. That's the expectations that we put on ourselves and we put on each other. I think we're talking about it. I don't think the conversation we are having right now is necessarily some major revelation, because this conversation is starting to happen and we need to talk about it more. But yeah, if society isn't structured in a way that women can be supported and men can be supported, I don't know how we're going to do it.
They're always talking about, every so often you hear it. It's a topic all the time of, men and women in pay. And one of the things that sometimes people will say, and it just trips me out when they say, well, a woman, she's going to have a baby and she's going to have to take time off to have the baby, and that maybe that's a reason why she should make less than a man. I'm like, a woman, because she's gonna push a person out, that should be like, oh, you just had a kid, bonus. You just made a person.
Right.
You get time off and you get some extra cash.
That's just something about your resilience, your strength.
That just says, and I think, and I don't know,
way.
The only thing I can think of is that I just feel in the time and the place, and whether it's the world or the energy, it's just, everything is just like, you've delivered, like you said, 1,000 people, and every time you catch a baby, you're still amazed by that. I think it maybe now with the technology, and I click this and I do that, and babies, you're pregnant, okay, cool, have that, and then raise her and do this, go back to work. I think we're just spinning so fast all the time, and also let's and this is just me thinking it's the miracle and what the universe gives us when a woman and people make a baby is just so amazing that maybe we just got to step back.
Stop for a moment.
And this fourth trimester thing that you're saying, it makes so much sense to me. I wish I would have done this show 10 years ago because I can guarantee you everything that you just described for our own first child at home and everything my wife went through, I did not know about any of that stuff. I thought
but that's a great
I was old
point,
school, like,
because
we smoked the cigar, we have the kid, you know.
But you can anticipate, because I also don't want it to be like, oh, we live in a society that's not going to support your fourth trimester. Good luck. Bye.
Yeah.
No. I mean, so you can anticipate. So if you know that you're not going to get the maternity leave that you would like to have in your fantasy world when you move to Canada or Sweden or whatever, then at least if you know, then you and your partner can plan a little bit and say, okay, so how are we going to deal with the relatives who want to visit? One of the things that I always tell my patients, especially if they had like a really long labor or they ended up with a C-section or they're just exhausted or I just see it in their face, I tell them while they're in the hospital, okay, you guys tell people this is the hour you can come, because otherwise people don't even necessarily want to come visit in the hospital. They feel obligated to, and they just kind of stare at you, and then you can't fart, you can't go to the bathroom, you don't want to take your boob out, whatever it is, you feel inhibited and you're exhausted and they're just looking at you. So, or you say like, hey, you know how you can really help me? Can you go pick up more diapers, or could you get some takeout, or my laundry's been sitting there. So people who are invited into your environment are people who are worker bees and are willing to do so. And a lot of people really do want that. They need direction. But these are things you could be thinking about with your partner while you're in the third trimester. Okay, who are my 5 go-tos or my 2 go-tos? And they do my meal, whatever people really want to help, so let them help you. Like, make assignments. Don't expect people to be psychic about this and about your needs. Anticipate what you might need. And then maybe if you even could set up, it could be, look, if you can afford a postpartum doula who's trained in this stuff, and they are like this is an emerging thing, awesome, do it. But that's for a very elite few. That's very expensive. But if you can set aside some money or some time, or I don't know, go to the local massage therapy school and see if like there's a trainee who can come in once a week and do a massage. I'm just really making this up off the top of my head, to be honest. And the other thing is for the partner, because the partner is sort of like, feeling left out, maybe feeling jealous and feeling guilty that they feel jealous, not knowing what they can do. So get an action plan going. This is so doable. Even if you only have 6 weeks, you will be, if I would have known this and I would have anticipated this, I cried every day for a year. I live a mile from the hospital. I cried every day on the way to work. It was so sad.
Leaving your baby.
Leaving my baby. It was awful.
Who's going away to college.
Oh my God.
And when he gets to Portland,
now I'm like, when is he leaving?
And when he gets to Portland, he's going to bring that up. My mom would cry.
Remember when?
He doesn't know.
No.
He just brings up everything I didn't do. Unless he brings up what he did do, but that's another show. So, no, I wish I would have known this because, and I was in a supportive partnership at the time.
Yep.
So these are things you can do.
Okay, so just to be, because I think there's 2 things I want to make sure we touch on before we go. One, what you're saying is from the parent's perspective, this 4th trimester thing is a thing.
Yes.
And so parents can better prepare themselves and have reasonable expectations. Like, chances are, although there's a rare few babies that just like sleep like crazy, no big deal, super easy, that's not the norm. Right. The norm is this 4th trimester thing where babies tend to be colicky, where they need certain kinds of soothing that mimic being in the womb, being swaddled potentially, lots of shushing, lots of movement in a swing, or being rocked, and then, breastfeeding is part of that soothing as well, or however you're feeding your baby.
Creating that environment of the womb.
And so knowing that will help put parents a little bit more at ease and not be like, oh my gosh, we never should have done this. There must be something wrong with us that we're freaking out. And then you're saying, in addition to knowing those things about having a new baby so that you're ready for it, here's some of the ways you can prepare. Create a support system. So that at a time when you're not going to be at your best because of lack of sleep and because of this 4th trimester behavior from your baby, you have people that are getting full night's sleep, to be your go-to people. And people want to help. Sometimes they just need direction. If you can set them up in advance when you can actually form a sentence, that would be really beneficial.
Right.
And I think, speaking for the dads or the partners out there, they can, what I picked up from you, Dr. Suzanne, is help coordinate who's going to be the worker bees. Hey, can you guys bring us foods? Hey, you know what? I did research that we could get a massage therapist that's learning in here once a week. Hey, I know you only have this amount of time off from work before you go, but this is what we're going to do to create a better atmosphere for you. I'm going to take the baby with you to work to visit, once a week. I don't know.
Right. Yes.
But just having those brainstorm sessions, pulling it all together, and also dads, partners out there, being aware of what your spouse or your partner has gone through carrying this individual inside of their body, and now it is suddenly out of them. And there's so much that goes with that. I didn't know, with the postpartum and the crying and all those things, I was fortunate. We didn't have a lot of that at the house, but I know that that's a real thing that exists. And for everyone listening, going through that with your spouse when they're crying, we all know right now that is the worst when your partner's crying and you can't, as I just know this as me, as Joe, and I can't help when my partner's crying. That is the worst feeling in the world. And sometimes I'm told, just let me cry, let me get through this, and don't try to fix everything.
Right.
But having this conversation right now, I really think can give you something to actually do while that possibly is going on, instead of going, what do I do? You'll be like, hey, I heard about this. It's actually happening. And I'm such a fan of when you come on the show, because you're like, you give our listeners just to be prepared for. It's not necessarily going to happen, but it gives you an idea. So hopefully when they're out there and it's happening, they're like, oh my gosh, I heard about this. Dr. Suzanne, Rad Parenting.
And to avoid having, already sort of natural anxiety about this whole big new thing that you've stepped into by having a child, just giving you something to go, okay, this is normal. That doesn't make it easier in the sense that the stuff is still going to happen, but it makes it easier in terms of your emotional and psychological state, because you're not in addition to the anxiety or the stress or the sleeplessness, also putting energy into beating yourself up and thinking that there's a big problem.
Right.
I also think, to your point, Joe, about spending the time as a couple before, like say in your third trimester, talking about these things and planning them. What a great bonding opportunity.
Yeah, totally.
And there is time to do that. I whenever I see couples and they're about to have their first kid, I always say, hey man, what are you up to? They're like, we're doing this. I go, hey, can I tell you right now? Go to sleep. Just go home right now and just lay down.
Have a nap for the next 3 months.
I always say, and I always say this.
Well, of course, when you're the pregnant one, you can't.
Yeah.
But,
But what I say to the dad is I go, this is going to be one of the last times you're ever going to hear yourself think again. Like, sit in a room quiet and go, wow, this is pretty cool. Like, because those days are gone, unless, but I really do feel what you're saying, Anea, is so true. You can use that time to have these conversations to be better prepared for when those conversations can't happen
That's
anymore.
Right. When it's more difficult to have them.
It's go time.
Okay, so let's just a couple of resources. So
both those books.
What are we going to do? Like Happiest Baby on the Block, DVD, there might be a book. And then you mentioned a book that you thought was really helpful.
Yeah, it was really helpful to me. It's by Dr. Mark Weisbluth, and it's called Happy Baby, Healthy Sleep Habits. It may be Healthy Sleep Habits. No, Harvey Karp's book is The Happiest Baby on the Block.
Yep. Got it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of resources, and then look into, doulas, look into massage therapy schools or just masseuses.
Support. I think other maternity, mommy support groups, because not everybody has a family or has people available. What if you live totally across country, or what if you don't have a relationship with any family?
That's right.
What if you move someplace new? So look into, is there a breastfeeding support group or a working mom support group?
Yep.
Just have the support of
Lactation
other people. The internet is
consultants
magic
exist.
in that way. It's maybe not perfect. It'd be great. I personally think in-person support is really, really key, getting that energy. But, the internet is magical that way. There's tons of great websites and mom blogs and chat rooms and all that available. So that's also a resource to people.
Love it. Dr. Suzanne, thank you so much for coming in again. Always a pleasure to have you in here. And I want to thank everyone for listening. Any questions you have, anything that you guys want us to get to Dr. Suzanne, email us at radparenting@gmail.com. Also follow us on our Facebook page. Go over there, click that, like that, because we're always posting different guests that are going to be on the show.
And keep up with the questions and the ideas. We keep getting these amazing ideas from our listeners. We love that.
As much as we'd love to give Anea and myself the credit for all the topics on the show, that would be a lie. You guys come up with so many of them. So keep emailing us, radparenting@gmail.com. Last thing is, keep those iTunes reviews coming. They're amazing. And I read them and I cry. Just going to throw that out there right now. I read them and I cry, and I can't believe I'm part of this show. All right, with all of that said, said Anea and Dr. Suzanne, when we bail, we always say late on the count of 3. You missed that last time you're on the show.
No one told me.
Yeah, it's late. We say late.
Way to go,
I'm
Joe.
sure your son says, "Hey, Mom, going to college late." Does he say it?
No.
No? Okay.
Stop trying to make her cry.
Fizbo show.
We're going to have another show. After he's there for a month, I want you to come back and be like, it's the best thing that ever happened.
Right.
Okay.
All right, we're out of here. My name is Joe Sib.
And Anea Bogue.
And Dr. Suzanne.
You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Late.